What's going on? Welcome to the 5th episode of All Elite Weekly, the first fan podcast, or any podcast for that matter, devoted solely to the brand new wrestling promotion, All Elite Wrestling. I'm your host, Matt Cruz. It has been another gloomy, dreary-ass day here in what's supposed to be beautiful Southern California. Just a crotchety day, man. I know it's been a recent vibe here in SoCal. The past couple episodes I've been telling about how the sun hasn't been coming out. It's another one of those goddamn days. You got up, one of those days you get up expecting to go for a walk. You're at the beginning of your day in mind. You wake up and the sun didn't even feel like getting up today, It was fucking, I peeked out of the window. It was rainy. I decided against my better judgment to get out there and go for a walk regardless. I froze my ass off. And that probably was the start of a crotchety mood for myself today. I tried to get a workout in a couple minutes ago to get the blood pumping. My workout wasn't worth a shit. I'm still here finishing this Ultra Monster. But I hope you had a fun, safe Super Bowl weekend. I caught maybe like the first 30 minutes of the game. After that, I headed up to my room and I decided to play some Crash on the PS2. So that was what's going on with me. I was defeated by Crash on the PS2, a fucking kids game. But later that night, we had wrestling to talk about. I told you this week we were gonna have some matches to go over on the next episode, and I'm at least bringing that to you. Here we go. This past week, Thursday, January 31st, in Atlanta, Georgia, what they were touting as the first independent wrestling show in the hosting city on Super Bowl weekend. It was Macaloons Productions' Ultimate Bar Brawl. It was at the Wild Pitch, and I think it was their third or fourth Ultimate Bar Brawl. If you haven't heard of it before, the pitch is thus: no ring, no rules. Well, I really thought there was more after the no rules, but there you go. That's all you need to know. No ring, no rules. It was a pretty good bill. I told you guys Frankie Kazarian's band Gutter Candy was going to be opening, and I found out. There you go, Frankie Kazarian. In case you were not in the know like myself last week, Frankie Kazarian plays the bass. He was up there rocking some bass. Before I jump into these matches, I just want to give you guys a heads up. I have been using the Fight TV app the past couple weeks. It is saving my life as far as watching independent wrestling out there on the circuit that's going on these days. If you've already been using it, I'm sure you're loving it. If not, if it's your first time using the Fight TV app, download that sumbitch, go to the redeem code section, use my code WV16G20. Rolls off the tongue. I'm sure that'll stick in your head there. Here, let me give it to you one more time. My code WV16G20. That'll get you a free $15, boom, at sign up. That'll get you one of these pay-per-views absolutely free. You don't got to pay shit for it. All right, let's get back into Ultimate Bar Brawl. Like I said, Frankie Kazarian's band opened up the night. As the PPV started, it cut it in, and I think they're still playing on stage. You couldn't really hear. That's one of my biggest pet peeves with a lot of these smaller promotions, these smaller pay-per-views on Fight TV. A lot of the PA systems aren't direct lined into whatever like the commentator's outboard is direct lined into. So you're getting the sound that you're getting as far as in the building, as far as from like speakers and PA systems in the building, is from the mics, is like from live room mics as well. It's not direct in. So when Gutter Candy's playing, like it looks like everybody's doing well and everybody's rocking out on stage. You can see that they're all like technically savvy, but I couldn't understand what the fuck the lead singer was saying. But it sounded like some good rock music. It definitely was the perfect setting for it. As they started to kind of like pan around for the start of it, you got a good look of like what Wild Pitch, what the bar was. It was just that. It was straight up that. It was like a wrestling event in a bar. The commentators for the night, it was Kevin Gill and it was Stu Myers, and they were like up on the catwalk. They were in the DJ booth, or what I would assume was the DJ booth, like on this balcony, like overlooking most of the bar. Gutter Candy wraps up, and one thing, like I said, they did a good job, but one thing that's always like chapped my ass, and one thing that's really grinded my gears over the years, I spent some time helping out with live concerts and live events as a teen, and into my early 20s, and one of the things that really pisses me off is how long it takes bands to set up and tear down. I fucking hate it. I'm sure if you've ever been to like any type of festival, like a Mayhem Festival, Warped Tour Festival, bands take forever to tear up and set down. I'm not even exaggerating. When Gutter Candy was tearing down, it wasn't just them tearing down. Like, they had people like roadies or whatever helping. I watched a guy who I don't think knew that he was on camera being broadcast on Fight TV. He was trying to put a cymbal in like a bag or a case. He flipped the cymbal 4 to 5 times, like back and forth. He flipped the fucking cymbal trying to figure out what to do with it. Anyways, I digress. Once Scatter Candy gets going, they're still trying to kind of clear room, trying to get the pay-per-view going. And as the Kevin Gill and Stu are vamping, who crashes the booth but MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, our favorite bad guy, and a really welcome way to help fill the time. Once we get going, the first match of the night was ODB, multiple-time knockout champ. I had never heard of her until tonight, or until that evening, taking on the bad girl herself, AEW's own Penelope Ford. So before they get going, they're doing one last show of the card, of the matches for the evening. Both this match and then the headlining match, which was Ken Shamrock versus Tom Lawler, felt very much like a tale of old school versus new school wrestling and indie wrestling. As they're showing this, we get going. Cue Penelope Ford's music. That Red Hot Chili Peppers is playing. She comes out looking good, looking confident as always. She's rocking that leather. She unzips that leather to reveal a Gizmo onesie. Penelope Ford is definitely my cup of tea. They get going. They get in each other's faces. ODB starts the match off. Both this match and Penelope Ford's match at A Matter of Pride Wrestling started off different than like a collar and elbow tie-up like I've talked about in the past. That match started off with like a comparing of like tits and ass. I think it's very interesting that Penelope Ford's out there in these settings where different scenarios and different formulas for matches can kind of be explored rather than her just always having to start the matchup with somebody who's expecting a tie-up. But ODB starts it off by joking that she's like asking the ref and asking the audience. She's like, "Oh, did anybody check her ID?" She turns to the bar. She orders some shots of Fireball for them, which they do the shots of Fireball, which is kind of, I guess, a way of getting going. They get going. They start to wrestle. ODB has a little bit of the upper hand. At one point, she spanks Penelope Ford, which is hot, but also kind of demeaning. She's just kind of putting her in her place, like, "All right, young gun, let's go." ODB slams her head off of the bar top, takes a long swig from her flask, and goes to spit it in Penelope Ford's face, which she pulls back and does like a Matrix, like bend back, like a full-on bend backwards to avoid. Also, super hot, super athletic. She's got some great flexibility. She's putting on display for the cast down there at the Wild Pitch Saloon. ODB goes for like a forearm or something like that. Penelope Ford again, boom, straight to the floor. Full-on splits. The bar's loving it. The setup's kind of interesting. I don't like if you've ever been to like a nightclub or like a bar. There's couches lining the wall. Not real couches, just kind of like knockout posts for people who are partying too hard. Brian Pillman Jr., among with other cool wrestlers, or like other wrestlers, indie wrestlers are in the house. Brian Pillman Jr. finds himself in the action. He's sitting up along one of these couches. ODB's got Penelope Ford, throws her head into Brian Pillman's crotch, and I don't think he realizes on camera at first because he's smiling after it happens and then goes for the super late sell, like, "Oh shit, that hurt so much." Like, oh, it was pretty good. They get back up, they start to go at it, they're trading chops. Their chests at this point are like fire engine red. They're really letting each other have it. Penelope Ford is not backing down, and ODB is laying those potatoes, like those full mitts in her chest. It's getting pretty intense. ODB calls for a beer timeout because it's getting, like I said, it's getting intense. They both chug what looks like a Heineken. Penelope Ford goes up for a crossbody off of one of those couches, gets caught. ODB catches her, slams down to backbreaker. The match keeps on going. At a certain part, both of them end up on top of the bar top. ODB's got the upper hand. Penelope Ford's kind of like milking it, kind of selling. And she wants shots. She's like calling to the bartender. She's like, "Give me fucking shots." And one of the bartenders, a hooded bartender, turns around, spits in her face. Who is it? None other than Joey motherfucking Janela himself. This gives Penelope Ford just enough time to go out for the choke out. She locks it in, gets the bridge, gets that leverage. ODB has no choice but to tap out on the bar. The win goes to the bad girl, Penelope Ford. Pretty cool moment. Both her and Joey Janela are sitting on top of the bar. Joey Janela's got a shot of something, and they share, like, they each take half of like a celebratory shot. Really cool. They start to walk backstage like they're walking away. ODB seemed like she was a couple sheets into the win. She might have been 3 or 4 sheets into the win at this point. She seemed like she was really hammering them down. She gets in Joey Janela's face, which kind of comes off awkward. Like like I said, she's a little too drunk, so you can't tell how much heat's actually there and how much they're playing into it. But instead of coming to fisticuffs or coming to blows, they settle for shots. Joey Janela and ODB take a shot. I think the ref takes a shot. We call it a day. Penelope Ford walks away with the win. And it was interesting. The headlining match between Ken Shamrock and Tom Lawler, I would recommend. Ken Shamrock looked like $1 million. But as of right now, he's not All Elite. I would be interested in him doing some business with the Elite. Maybe not a full match because he blew the fuck up, which we'll talk about later. But that was it for Ultimate Bar Brawl. But we didn't have to wait long. Like I said, great weekend of wrestling. The next day, Saturday, February 1st, still in Atlanta, in Hot Atlanta, the King of the South Stomping Grounds, at Espacio Discotheque. McAloon's Productions again. Boom, 2 nights in a row. They really, man, TJ McAloon, I don't know this cat, but he really grabbed the bull by the horns. Tried to put on something cool. Put on some cool matches for the wrestling community in an interesting setting. Here was his second shot at it over the Super Bowl weekend. Come hell or high water. What a great card we had. The same commentators from the night before. We had Kevin Gill and Stu Myers. This night, joined by Joey Janela. This night, we had 3 AEW-related matches. That's right, not 1, not 2, but trace AEW matches. The first one being the bad girl again, Penelope Ford taking on Delilah Doom and Thunder Rosa in a triple threat. I saw Delilah Doom for the first time the night before at Ultimate Bar Brawl. She had an intergender tag team matchup with her boyfriend against Priscilla Kelly and her boyfriend. I wish I could remember said boyfriend's names, but I was not that impressed. I've seen Thunder Rosa a handful of times before. I think I saw her for the first time on Impact, and since then I've caught her on a couple independent cards. I really like her a lot. I like her look. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because she's repping La Raza, but also I think she's super athletic, and I think that she could be something special as she keeps going. She's still pretty young. I think she's got a good run ahead of her. Let's get to the match. As we get going, Penelope Ford comes out to that same Red Hot Chili Peppers. She gets a pretty good pop into the side of the Espacio Discotheque. We get all 3 ladies in the ring. They start to square off. Everybody starts to, do their own thing. We get Penelope Ford versus Thunder Rosa for a little bit. Penelope Ford is taking some chops again. I would not take any fucking chops after that match with ODB, which was basically just like Chop City. It was chop talk in the Ultimate Bar Brawl the night before. But hey, she's back out there. She's earning that check, man. The pace starts to quicken a little bit. We get all 3 ladies in the ring. At a certain point, everybody gets a roll up like a small package and gets a kick out at 2, all 3 of them. So it's like a triple roll up, which sounds delicious. Thunder Rosa's in the corner. Penelope Ford and Delilah Doom kind of go for a double team situation. Penelope Ford's getting those flips in. Delilah Doom's getting those strikes in, those hard knees and whatnot. Penelope Ford, Delilah Doom get to go at it for a second while Thunder Rosa's out. She's on the top rope. Boom, drops the double drop kick. Takes them both out of action. Penelope Ford and Delilah Doom are in opposite corners. Thunder Rosa gets the coast to coast action, not Shane O'Mac style, but kind of running from corner to corner. Hits one of them with the double knee. Hits one of them with the drop kick. Gets that momentum going. Eventually, Penelope Ford gets the best of her. Hits her with that handspring diamond cutter. Super awesome. I've seen it done maybe once or twice before, but she hit that with pretty good accuracy. I thought it was good. I'd like to see her keep pulling that out of her back pocket. Thunder Rosa hits a spinning pile driver on Penelope Ford, very much looking like Pentagon's pile driver or something like that. Really, really cool. Looks like it's got a lot of impact on it. Delilah Doom comes back in with some heat, gets Thunder Rosa on the top rope, but she gets knocked off. Thunder Rosa hits her with a double stomp, like a Christopher Daniels double stomp. Boom, on Delilah Doom. 1, 2, 3. Thunder Rosa picks up the win. Good match. I thought it was a better match than it was going to be going into it. Triple threats can kind of be difficult, but I really thought they pulled out a good match. It was a good pace. They had some good spots in there. Everyone got a moment, and I would love to see Thunder Rosa come into AEW. I'm very much expecting things or crossovers with her in the future. I'd like to see her at that pool party, but if not, at least down the road. Later on the evening, there was an 8-person tag match scheduled. No one from AEW was supposed to be on that card, but if you've been following the weeks prior and the indie events that the Bucks have been popping up at and who they've been popping up with, you might have had a guess that this was coming. In the 8-person tag match, it was Team Joey, led by Joey Ryan. He had Kiko Matu on there. He had Effie and Chris Wolf versus Team Texas in Steve Reno, Moonshine Mantell, Spida, and Alley Cat. It was a decent match, not really my cup of tea. At the end, though, Team Joey picks up the win. The rest of Joey Ryan's team dips. Joey Ryan gets on the mic and he's kind of thanking the crowd, and he's attacked by Team Texas. A good setup, a good moment to be like, oh no, who can help? Who will help Joey Ryan? You probably have a guess. Hit Paige's music. And this one was pretty cool. Stu on commentary really sold it. He goes, I know that music. I thought you did a good job building into the surprises, kind of leading into them more, building anticipation. Paige comes out looking BMF again, and he hits the bottom of the ramp, and he's waiting for a second. Hit Cody's music. Stu again sells it. He goes, the American Nightmare is in Atlanta. I thought this guy was good. If you're looking to put on a show, I'd say hire Stu Myrick. I thought he was pretty good on the commentary. So Cody comes out, and not only does Cody come out, he's got Pharaoh in tow. I know that Cody and Brandy live in Atlanta, and man, did the crowd eat up a Pharaoh appearance. I'll talk about it here in a second more, but man, they really love that dog. Cody and Paige get in the ring and start to put the boots to Team Texas, but it's 4-on-2. Paige get tossed out, and it becomes 4-on-1. Cody's outnumbered. Cody takes a huge clothesline from Moonshine Mantell. I hadn't seen Moonshine Mantell before this, but that cat's got a good look. Solid cat. He seems like a good worker. I'm going to keep my eye out for Moonshine Mantell in the future, but he hits Cody with a clothesline that flips him upside down. Really good bump. When all else looks lost again, who comes to the rescue this time? MJF. No music. He just comes down straight to the ring. No fucks given. MJF runs in. It's a 4-on-1 situation at that point. He doesn't give a shit. He starts to clear the ring a little bit, narrow it down, but he cannot take down Moonshine Mantell, who tries to hit him with a couple clotheslines. The first two don't connect, or the first two don't knock him down. He starts to gear him up like, you want one more, big man? Boom. Turns around and pokes him in the eye and sets Cody up to take over. We get back into some classic. Cody's playing the hits like we've talked about in the past. Cody does the drop down, smacks him. Paige comes in from the outside, front flip into a lariat. At this point, the ring's been cleared. The day's been saved. And Cody goes in for a hug to hug MJF. Cody turns away, and Paige goes to hug MJF and gets a bird right in the face. Gets that finger right on the bridge of his nose. Paige goes to choke him, and Cody turns around, and MJF goes in for the hug. Man, they're really playing that bit up, and I dig it a lot. I really love the good cop, bad cop bits by MJF that he's got going on. Cody sees him, hugs both of them. Cody gets on the mic, starts to cut a promo. He's talking. He references bringing Pharaoh. And Stu again with a great call. He goes, wow, Pharaoh's more over than half the roster. Which is true and kind of sad. The crowd was chanting for Cody's dog more than 80% of the wrestlers on that card. But I digress. Anyways, Cody jokes about Joey Ryan's contract again with Lucha Underground. And he introduces the crowd to MJF as his best friend, salt of the earth, and the guy who saved him, MJF. I thought it was a perfect way to go into intermission for Hella High Water. Great moment, and the crowd really loved that bit. And I think it's important with all these to change it up a little bit. I know a couple weeks ago at Over the Top, Cody hit the crossroads on JT Dunn. Important to change it up a little bit. At most of the stops, like we've talked about, he and Paige have kind of hit the 1-2 combinations of drop down, smack, over front flip lariat. But bringing MJF into the mix really freshened it up. At least I thought. The penultimate match of the night: MJF versus Scorpio Sky, AEW versus AEW, a civil war of the new signees. Really cool. MJF comes out already. From the second he hits that curtain, he's mocking the fans. He walks down. He basically goes in like he's gonna high five one guy, pats him underneath his chin, basically making fun of his double chin. He pushes another audience member by the chest. He's just doing great crowd work. I love it. I think he's starting to get more and more comfortable as these appearances go on. As more people are seeing him on, I think Being the Elite's been a big part of it as well. He's starting to getting heat out there as a heel on a nationwide basis, and I love it. Scorpio Sky's music hit. He comes out, man, he's just amped. I love Scorpio Sky. I think he's a great baby face, man. I think that he's got that clean cut, but he rides the line between being like clean cut, being like the good guy, but being like right in that line between being like Boy Scout, like too overly good, like Mr. Goody Two Shoes. He seems very genuine. He seems like a good cat, and he's high flying, man. Anytime he kind of, I mean, obviously, it's probably not to Too Cold Scorpio, but cats like that are few and far between. He goes around, does the opposite of MJF, basically high fives everyone around the ring. I think he does a full 360 lap around the ring and gets everybody. They get in there, square off, SCU chants start rolling out, and MJF rolls out of the ring taking his time like, all right, fine, you want to chant SCU? Fuck you, like, I'll make you wait. They get back in there, face off again, and then Scorpio Sky rolls out, though, as he rolls out as well and kind of goes, SCU, which was already happening. I thought that was a misstep as a babyface. I was just talking, I've sold him so well as a babyface, but I thought that was a misstep. I thought that the heel doing that was perfect, and it kind of caught me off guard. I put a question mark after that rollout. They get into the basics, some headlocks, some arm bars, some good chain wrestling. You can tell off the bat though, not the best chemistry between these two. So I don't know how much they've worked together in the past, but just not the best chemistry. It doesn't go unnoticed. The audience starts to kind of lose their energy. Even the commentators get lost on this bit. I don't know if Joey Janela or Kevin Gill brings it up, but they go on like a 2-minute tear of like musicians from their hometown, and they kind of get lost in that. It's a little hard to pay attention to the action that's going on. Both guys end up outside of the ring, basically tying up near one of the stanchions, and you see clear as day in the front row, there's a guy who's like knocked the fuck out. The commentators start to address it too. That's the kind of chemistry we're talking about here. Not a bad match between these two. Definitely not a technically bad match, but just not enough heat. Every time that there was a distraction, you ended up getting pulled aside pretty easily. Your attention got pulled pretty quickly. You, the commentators, again, start to go on a bit about this guy who's knocked the fuck out in the front row. Both men end up back in the ring. MJF is working that arm. Basically does like a tear on the arm and then exclaims, "I see you later, bitch," and gets hit immediately with an inverted DDT. Both men are down. They start to get at it again. Scorpio Sky picks up MJF, slams him once, slams him twice, and then we're let in on the fact that earlier in the day, Scorpio Sky had tweeted, "I'm going to body slam MJF 10 times. So we get to 2, 3. He follows through on his word. As much gas as it took out of both of their tanks, they every time, boom, body slam, back up 10 times in a row. Scorpio Sky does the feat, slams MJF, body slams him 10 times in a row. Kind of cool, but kind of prolonged. Maybe 5 next time. Maybe 5. Let's stick with 5. They get going again. MJF still working that arm, gets on the second turnbuckle, and comes down hard. I couldn't tell if it was like an elbow or something like that, or like a shoulder block, but he comes down hard on Scorpio Sky's shoulder and arm area. Boom, right back to that arm bar. MJF is a pretty good mat wrestler, and he's just sticking to the basics. No big frills, nothing like that. Scorpio Sky gets his momentum back, gets him in a fireman carry to a stunner, which I hadn't seen before. I've never seen a fireman carry to a stunner. I don't think I've seen a fireman carry to an RKO either, but that was something out of the ordinary. I dug that move at least. Scorpio Sky's on the outer apron, MJF, and he's about to like jump in over the top and launch himself at MJF. MJF grabs the ref, uses him as a shield, so Scorpio Sky doesn't do it. He comes back in the ring. MJF gets the low blow on Scorpio Sky, rolls him up in a small package. 1, 2, 3. Maxwell Jacob Friedman picks up the win. See you later, bitch. We kept it moving. The main event of the night, Lucha Bros, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix versus SCU, Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. I was really looking forward to this match. This was the first time ever these two teams have done battle, and man, was the wrestling world pumped. Both teams are in the ring, and the chants are half and half, man. Half of the crowd's going Cero Muerto, half of the crowd's going SCU. The electricity is super dope. Pentagon Jr. and Christopher Daniels are trash talking, and this is awesome chant start before the bell even rings. We get to it. The Lucha Bros start off with the upper hand. Super kicks in stereo on Frankie Kazarian. Some good double teamwork going on. Both Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix getting their licks in. Fenix hits his first suicide dive of the night on Frankie Kazarian, and it goes off without a hitch. Keep that in mind, in the back of your mind as we move along here. Pentagon Jr. basically lands a double stomp on Christopher Daniels. Frankie Kazarian takes the ring and clears house to help out Christopher Daniels. Frankie Kazarian hits the Okada roll up on Phoenix, and as he's in an Okada roll up to pin Phoenix, hits Northern Lights on Pentagon Jr. for a double pin, or to attempt a double pin. It's 1-2 kick out, but the crowd eats that up. I hadn't seen that before. Frankie Kazarian, like a bat out of hell, still rocking in there, gets a figure 4 leg lock on Phoenix, and at the same time rolls up Pentagon for a pin. 1-2 kick out. Doesn't get the submission or the pin, but still we're starting to really heat up here. Frankie Kazarian inside of the ring to outside of the ring hits a Hurricane Rana on Penta Jr. That was a super impressive move. I mean, just the air that he got and the body control to land, land. I mean, and hope somebody catches you on their shoulders, but to land with the precision on their shoulders, and then have the momentum to swing down for that 360 Hurricane Rana. Super dope. On the opposite end of the outside, Christopher Daniels hits a springboard moonsault, his patented springboard moonsault on Phoenix. They get back in the ring. The next move doesn't go so well. Christopher Daniels basically tries to do a double stomp on Penta Jr. Kind of botches it. But so as he's coming down, he botches the stomp and doesn't stop. He sprints right into a suicide dive to the outside on Phoenix. I dug that. Christopher Daniels is a fucking G. He knew the second he was like, as you could tell as he was coming down, he knew he wasn't going to land it and was already figuring out what was next to save it. Frank Kazarian's inside rocking, hits a slingshot cutter on Penta Jr. and he basically lands on the top of his head. Pentagon Jr. took that slingshot cutter like a G. It was so cool. The bumps that the Lucha Bros were taking in this match was super impressive, especially considering how high in demand and how high profile these cats are right now. We get to rocking back and forth a little bit. Cero Muerto and SCU chants start going again. All 4 men in the ring start trading chops, going to Chop City. We go to Chop Town, and it's echoing throughout that ring again. And they said, Joey Janela on commentary mentions, you don't want to get in a chop off with Pentagon Zero. Not only is he a tough SOB, and he'll lay them into you, make you feel like your soul's leaving your body, he says. You also notice that Penta's got what looks like a pretty padded chest piece on. Frey Phoenix is bare chested out there, but Pentagon's got that chest piece going on. That seems like it could help a lot in a chop war, and he definitely seems like he takes those chops a little bit better. All 4 men chopping. We get a flurry of super kicks. Boom, boom, boom. All 4 men down, and the crowd starts chanting, "Fight forever." So dope. This match already, boom, delivering. The Lucha Bros hit a chopper keeper on Christopher Daniels, and Phoenix jumps down. He jumps off the ropes for that chopper keeper. He runs the ropes like he's going to go for a suicide dive. For the first attempt, he's blocked by the ref, and he doesn't really stop to get his bearings, so he kind of just keeps going full steam. Back into the run the ropes again to that suicide dive, and I don't think he really, like I said, got his bearings because he soars over Frankie Kazarian on the outside of the ring into the audience, into an audience of like wooden chairs, not metal folding chairs, not flimsy chairs, like wooden like dining table chairs. And I think the commentary team didn't see it coming. I don't think anybody saw it coming. As soon as he's in the air, mid-air, commentators like, "Oh fuck!" Really, really cool moment, but really scary moment. Literally seconds after that happens. It couldn't have been 15 seconds to 30 seconds after. Pentagon in the ring hits a pile driver on Christopher Daniels. 1, 2, 3. Lucha Bros pick up that win. I mean, obviously you had to wrap it up just in case. I don't know if there was communication from how far Phoenix jumped into at least the third row in the audience, and I think the move there is definitely to wrap it up just in case somebody's injured. What a great match though. Really delivered. I hope to see repeat this match in the not too distant future. I would love to see him back in there mixing it up. In a show of appreciation and respect, the brothers extend their hands to SCU. We get a handshake. It's a really nice way to part ways. SCU leaves the ring, gives the bros the ring, but they're lingering on the ramp. You can tell they're like start to take selfies. They're lingering. They're waiting for something. And cue the Young Bucks music. The crowd goes crazy. Lucha Bros are still inside the ring. Young Bucks come down, hit their poses, get in the ring with them, face off, and the bros aren't really sure what to expect. They're not sure if they're expecting a fight, or if they're expecting, some to get some admiration or what's going to go on. Pentagon basically shoring up his spot, gets in the Bucks face just in case, and lets loose one of those cero muertos, like super loud, just to be like, yo, we're not fucking around. And they're super amped up, they're dripping sweat, they're ready to go. Nick gets on the mic. He basically says, hey, we came in peace. The Bucks go on to proceed to say to thank them. They say thank you for keeping tag team wrestling alive. Matt gets on the mic, and I think he says, my brother and I are sort of like executive vice presidents of a large wrestling company. We so happen to be scouring the globe to find the very best tag team wrestlers. Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix, the Lucha Bros, the second best tag team in the world. Awesome. Gets a great pop from the audience, a great pop from the Lucha Brothers. They start to look at each other like they have to hold each other back, like, I'm gonna fuck this guy up. Like, what did you just say? It's really, really cool. Really cool bit. Matt goes on to say, hey, you want to prove that you're number one? Why don't you come wrestle for All Elite Wrestling? The Bucks extend their hands for a handshake, but pretty quickly are interrupted by the challengers from earlier in the night in the Southern Wrestling Challenge. Just some J Bros, as Joey Janela would say, come up to rain on the parade. Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels come back down to help clear house. The Cavalry's back in. Young Bucks get a super kick in on one of the wrestlers, and then all four join in together. The Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks quadruple super kick on, I believe, Matt Sexcells from the Southern Wrestling Challenge. Really cool moment. The Bucks and the Bros go on to then shake hands. Kevin Gill on commentary says, it's official, word is bond. And I couldn't have said it better myself, Kevin Gill. It seems to be official. After that, Christopher Daniels gets back on the mic, cuts a promo to close the show. He says, we're going to take you to heights that professional wrestling hasn't seen in years. To close the event, we cut back to the commentary team. Stu Gill and Joey Janela are closing, and Frankie Kazarian comes over to high-five the team, as well as the promoter, TJ McAloon. And on his way out, Frankie Kazarian knocks over one of the hard cameras on a tripod. That was Come Hell or High Water. Whew, what a lot to digest there, guys. Really cool stuff. Penelope Ford match was dope, like I said. Not great, not the best chemistry in the MJF match, but what big news right there to end off the night. I would say one of the best tag teams in the world, top 3 tag teams in the world of the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix, seemingly confirming they're coming to All Elite Wrestling, and I would not be surprised to see Young Bucks, Lucha Bros at Double or Nothing in Vegas on May 25th. The next day, Saturday, February 2nd, in Erie, Pennsylvania, at Pro Wrestling Rampage, it was the Are You Ready show. Earlier in the day, I believe Billy Gunn did a pro wrestling seminar at like 2 p.m. and then at 7 p.m. he stuck around for the Are You Ready show. There wasn't a match booked when we talked last week, but in between our past 2 episodes, it was released that Billy Gunn would be taking on John Rodden. For a lot of these smaller shows, I haven't found footage yet, so this is the same. Haven't found footage from this match yet, but shout outs to Corey Bastion on Twitter. I thought it was Corey Sebastian, but no, it's Corey Bastion on Instagram, actually, sorry. I asked him, hey man, who picked up that win? His response was, quote, Faymaster, clean, 1, 2, 3. The one, Billy Gunn. Picks up the win on John Rodden. The same day, the same state, this past Saturday, February 2nd, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was Major League Wrestling's Superfight. I believe it was this first Superfight. This one, unlike many others, you can actually go catch on YouTube as we speak right now. It is still on YouTube. Go check it out. MLW Superfight. In the opening match, it was the Hart Foundation of Teddy Hart and Danny Boy Smith, who are managed by Brian Pillman Jr., taking on the Lucha Bros for the MLW tag titles. I actually have been seeing these out of order. I believe I saw this before I saw them signing. I knew that they had signed, but I believe I saw this match before I saw them, the Lucha Bros handshake with the Bucks. So I didn't take too extensive of notes on their match. I was more focused on any type of MJF appearance, knowing that MLW would be his home base of operations. I hadn't really seen the Hart Foundation or the new Hart Foundation in action. before this match, and I thought that was really, really cool to see. It warmed my heart a little bit to see the young cats of this new generation out there doing it, following in their family's footsteps, and really carrying on that legacy, man, of the Hart Foundation. Unfortunately for the Lucha Bros, they dropped their MLW tag titles, the Major League Wrestling tag titles, to the Hart Foundation in this match. I thought that was really interesting considering the AEW offer the night before. This leads me to really question their standings in other organizations like MLW. Mainly, my big question is this: will we see the Lucha Bros lose their Impact titles now that it's official? They're coming to AEW. It feels like some of these promotions are kind of. I mean, if you're a promotion, you want to give a belt to somebody who's more or less your guy, or is more or less considered your guys. I'll be very interested to see if they lose those titles, particularly to LAX, which we'll talk about here a little bit later. After the Lucha Brothers incident, and after the second match of Loki versus Tom Lawler, the Hart Foundation is in the back. They show a promo of them of the Hart Foundation hanging out in the back in what looks like to be like the shower area. Enter MJF. Apparently, MJF lost his middleweight championship to Teddy Hart in the past. I don't know how long ago, but that seems to be a storyline that's been going on over there. And they really kind of punk out MJF. This is something that you're not used to seeing much of. Teddy Hart spilling champagne on his belt, and he basically gets in MJF's face and says, "We own this promotion. You were the guy who didn't have the balls to stay. So go join the Elite and stay the hell out of my way before I turn this into a street fight, my friend." And they chase MJF out with champagne. I mean, he doesn't really say shit. Like I think he says one line to start the match, but he really gets punked by the Hart Foundation, and it seemed like that's kind of what they were going for. Interesting direction as far as coming out of Superfight. I'll be excited to see MJF get back into the MLW ring and throw down. I'd like to see him fight Teddy Hart again and kind of redeem himself, but they really punked him out. The next day, Sunday, February 3rd, in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, it was Alpha One's Superslam Sunday. I mentioned Alpha One having the event last week, and I couldn't find the name, and I'm so glad they had a name for it. So it turned out it was, I think I reported it as being Live Pro Wrestling. Alpha One's Live Pro Wrestling. Much better. It was Alpha One's Superslam Sunday, and the main event was Johnny Alpha, or you know him as Johnny Impact and Johnny Mundos. But when it comes to A1 Wrestling, he's Johnny Alpha in a triple threat match for that Impact Championship, taking on MJF and hometown boy or home promotion boy Ethan Page. I haven't found footage of this one yet, but I did find another independent wrestling site. So if you're listening to this, check independentwrestling.tv. I know that Alpha One puts their stuff up on there. I was directed there. As I'm recording this, though, on February 5th, it hasn't been uploaded yet. But keep your eye posted for that event. But no surprise, the word on Instagram is Johnny Alpha picks up the win against MJF and Ethan Page. No surprise, like I said, him retaining that title. You don't want to have somebody lose their Impact. You're not going to have one episode of Impact Wrestling and on the Pursuit channel, and then the next week, whoever was champion last week is just not champion, and we don't discuss it. But nonetheless, it's still a good lineup for MJF to be in. And that was it for this week's matches, man. It was a lot of them this week. It was a good week for wrestling. It was a good week for indie wrestling, particularly. If you're going to watch any of those events, like I said, Superfight you can catch on YouTube. The Alpha One's not up yet, but if you're going to check out the Ultimate Bar Brawl or Come Hell or High Water, I would recommend the Fight TV app. If you're going to jump on there, use my code WV16G20. Help your boy out and get a $15 credit for yourself in the process. Keeping it moving, we're going to go on to the Being the Elite segment this week. Monday, February 4th, we got a brand new episode of Being the Elite. It was Being the Elite number 137, and the title was Handshake Agreement. At the beginning, it's Cody, Billy Gunn, and Paige, and a blurred out Christopher Daniels in like a meeting room backstage at what I'm assuming is over the top based on what transpires afterwards. So Billy, Cody, and Paige are talking. And a blurred Christopher Daniels are talking, and they're basically giving Paige a hard time still about his full gear. It's really good. They're playing basically a game of telephone, being like, "Oh, well, you tell Paige that if he wants to wear this gear, and then being telephoned back through Billy and through Christopher Daniels. A couple cool tidbits released in this, though. Cody refers to Billy as the AEW head coach. They put the graphics on screen. Boom, AEW head coach. He refers to Christopher Daniels as talent relations. Boom, they put the graphics on screen again. If that's official, if this is not them doing a bit, congratulations to Billy Gunn and to Christopher Daniels on your new roles inside of All Elite Wrestling. I look forward to seeing both you cats in the ring at All Elite Wrestling, but I'm also very excited to see you guys further your careers, or not just them, to see cats further their careers once they step out of the ring. There's life outside of that squared circle. I think it's important for them to be giving back, and if these are two great veterans to be to keeping it pushing, or to be helping form a new upstart like All Elite. When Christopher Daniels gets to talk, or when he moves in, he leans in. They move the mouth blur from he covering his whole face to just covering his mouth, and that's where you start to get the hint of like, oh, it's for they're doing more of a tooth fit. Pretty good. Cody and Paige are backstage. They do a cut after the credits. They're backstage and they run into Darby Allin, who was taking on Scorpio Sky, I believe, at the Over the Top event. Cody's rehashing his bit like he did with Peter Avalon. He goes, "Hey, can I talk to you about an exciting opportunity? How would you like to make $1 million?" I love that bit. I think it's really, really cool. The Cody trying to give everybody $1 million contract is really, really funny. I dig that bit. Enter Flip Gordon. We haven't seen Flip Gordon interact with the Elite since they've left Ring of Honor. He comes up on crutches, but I'm not sure what happened. But I used to love the Flip Gordon storyline, the whole Flip Gordon Brandy Cody storyline over there on Ring of Honor and him being the Elite. Cody pretends to not remember Flip at first, which is really awesome, and then he kind of looks at him. He's like, "Flip Gordon, bless you," and he kisses him on the forehead. He's like, "Oh, it's so good to see you." Billy Gunn's walking around in the background. It looks like Billy Gunn just walked off stage and he didn't realize he was gonna get caught in the middle of a shoot. He's just trying to come down from adrenaline rush. He's taking off his tape in the background. Flip Gordon basically says, "I heard you signed MJF. Be careful." And that sets Cody off. Don't talk about Cody's bestie. He's like, "You son of a bitch," and he goes to swing, and the entire locker room separates them. And seeing that locker room, it made me believe it was definitely at the Over the Top event. But they separate them, including Scorpio Sky running out of nowhere in a towel. That was a great little bit in there. That was pretty funny. We then cut to the Bucks scouting the MGM gallery, or the MGM Garden Arena. Matt's talking about how attending Halloween Havoc at that same arena 18 years prior. Really, really cool to be returning to it. They're talking about how they want to break the wrestling attendance record for the venue. Wow. That's a big goal right there. We then cut back to SCU and Christopher Daniels. Chris Daniels comes in with a bandana around his mouth, and he's doing the tooth bit again, keeping that going. Again, CD, hang in there, man. Get that tooth fixed when you can. I hope they lay off your ass about it. I feel it. Then we cut back to Cody and the Bucks at the MGM. They're joking around about squeezing 20,000 people, or rounding up to 20,000 people in the MGM casino, or the MGM arena. A reminder, harkening back to All In, how they fit 10,000 people into the Sears Center, and Cody basically says a line of why the hell do we call this thing Double or Nothing again? Really, really cool that we heard that line, that they're aiming to get close to doubling the attendance of the All In event here for Double or Nothing. After that, we cut back to some footage Over the Top of Cody and Paige at Over the Top. Cody's on the mic cutting a promo. He basically asked the audience, "You guys don't mind being the Elite this week, right?" And the Elite chants start. That's fucking really crazy to see, that no matter where these cats go in the wrestling world, you can go Japan, you can go any of the small events throughout the country, how over the Elites are, how over Cody and the Bucks are and Paige are, and just how invested cats are and fans are, and how excited they are for All Elite. After that, we get the Bucks side of what happened at Come Hell or High Water. This shows them hanging out with Brian Pillman Jr. backstage, and they hear their music. They're like, "Oh, that's our music. We better go." You could kind of showing the other side of that timing issue, I was talking about at Come Hell or High Water. SCU's kind of lingering on the ramp, and they're like, "All right, let's time to get the surprise going." Nothing that we didn't see in the Hell or High Water pay-per-view event, but I really dig seeing the other side, their side of things regardless. It seems like we're going to get to the end credits here, and then we get a quick cut to Kenny Omega. Kenny's sitting on a chair. He calls Nick asking for advice on a quote big decision. They're basically stringing us along. He's doing this whole monologue about like, he's like, oh, I've never made a decision this big. Like, I'm just worried like about how it's gonna impact the rest of my life. Da 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 da. And you know they're not talking about what we think they're talking about. Everyone's hoping. They're like, oh, he's gonna make the announcement here. He's gonna talk about it. We get to the end of it, and it turns out Kenny Omega is talking about. He's been talking about Resident Evil 2. Who he's gonna play as on the Resident Evil 2 remake, Leon or Claire. It all went over my head. I'm not a really Resident Evil fan, but man, that was cruel. That was a cruel thing to do, Kenny Omega. He wraps it up, but he does say to Nick, he says, "See you guys in a bit. I'm gonna go call Marty." Again, I'm still expecting to see Kenny at that party. That was it for Being the Elite this week. This is a day after, the morning after recording. We got a late minute edition of Road to Double or Nothing. It was last night, February 5th. It was the second episode of Road to Double or Nothing. It started out with Cody, Christopher Daniels, and Michael Cellular hanging out somewhere in an office, talking about talent, talking about the Road to Double or Nothing. And they watch a promo from a UK wrestler named Jimmy Havoc. I had not heard of Jimmy Havoc before this, but, you know, of course I was going to look it up after. But they watched this kick-ass promo. It's pretty cool. It's very, the tone is dope. He seems pretty hardcore. Right after this, I looked up who Jimmy Havoc was. Luckily, they had an article on lastwordonprowrestling.com about Jimmy Havoc. There's a little backstory on who Jimmy Havoc is if you were like myself and you were unaware. Jimmy Havoc started out 2004. He debuted in the NWA Hammerlock UK. 2007, he made his way to IPW UK. In 2012, he joined Progress Wrestling. He held the Progress World Championship for a record 609 days. 609. He then followed that up with a run as the IPW UK World Champion for 770 days. Holy fucking shit. He is the current reigning Defiant Hardcore champ. And he also works throughout North America with Smash Wrestling as well. So that's a little backstory on who Jimmy Havoc is. That's going to become important here. So they're talking about Jimmy Havoc, and Cody says, yeah, definitely, absolutely make that call. And they kind of use this as a pivot point they don't really spend much time talking about who Jimmy Havoc is. CD, Christopher Daniels basically says like, oh, I fuck with the hardcore style. I think he kind of uses it to mask the rest of his style, and I think he's got more to offer. But they use this as kind of a pivot point to talk about what they're looking for in AEW, different as far as people who bring a different style, people who are maybe not as exposed to a North American audience at this point. And they use that to kind of pivot into talking about Hangman Page. We start to get a real in-depth conversation about Hangman Page and what he brings and why they feel he was a star and kind of in the rough. He's super sincere. You don't have to sell me on Page. I was already sold on Page, but this is a nice little promo package. It seems like we're going to be building towards Hangman Page being the face of the company, and I like that. I think a couple more of these may be necessary. He may need to break out of that shell a little bit when he's not in character. On Being the Elite, he's so fluid and he's so fucking funny, but when you're just talking to him one-on-one, some of this stuff kind of came off a little bit stale. You still like the guy. You think that maybe they just pick up the entertainment value on these as far as the one-on-ones going forward for Page. Page does make the unfortunate quote. He does say the unfortunate line of, I can respect Pac. He's got big balls. That's what we want at All Elite. Boom. That made me chuckle. We wrap out the episode. Cody, Christopher Daniels, and Michael are hanging out backstage. Or Cody and CD are hanging out backstage. Michael enters and he says they blur out whoever he says, but the name they go bleep, called again. And Christopher Daniels is like, oh, it sounds personal. You want to handle that? And Cody's like, yeah, it's fairly personal. I will call him back when I feel like it. To which Michael responds, you still don't have an opponent for Double or Nothing. Within an hour of that video, the episode 2 going online, the comments were already buzzing and trying to speculate who it could be. A lot of people are guessing Jon Moxley, people saying Dean Ambrose. I think that's out of the stratosphere. Somebody like a Flip Gordon or somebody like that with a little bit more history might make a little more sense. But that was it for Road to Double or Nothing this week. The big news that we got in there was the signing of Jimmy Havoc. Shortly after the episode was posted online on the All Elite Instagram, they posted a picture welcoming Jimmy Havoc to All Elite Wrestling. So on behalf of All Elite Weekly as well, Jimmy Havoc, the hardcore UK legend, welcome to All Elite Wrestling. I can't wait to see what you bring. I'm probably going to have to look away at some of your moves, but I look forward to it. This week, All Elite Weekly News. It was a minuscule news week. It was basically a non-existent news week. It was pretty quiet. All the news that happened as far as the signings like Lucha Brothers, boom. We talked about that in the Come Hell or High Water event. So if a lot of cats out there were just picking up that story who hadn't seen that pay-per-view. Another thing that's been going pretty rampant online today is there's rumors flying all over. There's articles going about the headlines saying first AEW offer made to WWE superstar. Apparently it's a sizable one. There's reports of this going on all over. I don't really like to delve into the speculation type shit because it could literally be anyone. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it could be this person. It could be that person. Until we get something more concrete, I don't really feel like delving into it. We all expect there to be a couple casualties as far as people signing away from WWE, even if it's just literally a couple as we get closer to AEW becoming a reality. This week on Talk is Jericho, the guest was Diamond Dallas Page, DDP himself. Not really any news being dropped or anything like that, but some cool insight to a young Cody. Diamond Dallas Page, one of Dusty Rhodes' closest friends, and has known Cody Rhodes apparently since he was a kid. He tells some cool stories about a teenage Cody on this episode of Talk is Jericho, and it's also just a really cool catch up between Jericho and one of the greats, Page himself. So if you're interested, go check that out. There's some cool nuggets in there. Rounding the bases out, guys. These are your chances to catch All Elite Weekly cats at appearances or in action for the week of February 6th through the 13th. First off, Thursday, February 7th. We've been talking about it here nonstop. Las Vegas, Nevada at the MGM Splash or Talent Pool. I don't know. Both have been announced. If they're two separate pools, good luck. If you don't get to the right pool, just get drunk. You'll have a nice time anyways. At the Talent Pool, it's the Double or Nothing ticket announcement party starting at 6 p.m. Streaming on Brandy's Instagram, Facebook at the Young Bucks, YouTube at Being the Elite, and Twitter All Elite Wrestling for in case you're like myself and you can't make it out to the Sin City for it. But expect some big announcements, man. Expect some surprises. We've said in the past, Brandy has said that she's probably going to be bringing some newly signed female talent there. Hopefully Thunder Rosa. And I think we all at this point are expecting Kenny Omega to announce his signing to AEW. It's 2 days away. We should be getting it pretty soon. We're all on pins and needles. If he fucking stops playing Resident Evil in time, if he finishes Resident Evil and makes that to Sin City, expect Kenny Omega. The next day, February 8th, Austin, Texas, at AAW's Lucha City Limits. MJF is set to take on Andy Dalton in one of the earlier matches on the night. And the headlining match, Team Firefox, AR Fox, and Myron Reed versus the newly signed AEW Luchadors, Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix. Expect a knockdown, drag-out match. This is for the AEW Tag Team Championships, and they're not taking any prisoners. Cero muerto. Friday, February 8th. This one's not live. This one would be you watching it just like I'm gonna be watching it. Friday, February 8th on Twitch and the Pursuit channel. Impact Wrestling's Impact Mexico at 10 p.m. Eastern. I can't find all the info on this. I asked to be smartened up on one of the Impact Instagram pages. I was like, yo, can somebody smarten me up? Did this taping already happen? Because I can't find tickets or anything like that. So I'm assuming it happened. But download that Twitch app, or if you have the Pursuit channel, or if you know what that is, catch the Lucha Brothers defending their Impact Tag Team titles against the former champs, LAX. I really hope to see Conan involved in this one. I think this could be really important for setting the tone for AEW wrestlers and other organizations going forward. Like I talked about earlier, we just saw the Lucha Brothers being stripped of their MLW Tag Team titles. If I listen to my gut, I'm saying they're probably going to lose those belts to LAX. So I could be wrong. I really hope that I'm wrong. But I would expect to see that happen on Friday. Tune in. Make sure you catch that on Twitch or the Pursuit channel. The next day, Saturday, February 9th, live in Jamaica, New York, what I assume to be Jamaica, Queens. New York City Arena, the House of Glory's Wrestling Recapture the Glory. These cats are out there, soldados. The Lucha Brothers again in action that night, back to back. LAX and Lucha Brothers for the House of Glory Tag Team Championships. Whether they just wrestled the night before or whether their match aired the night before, they're gonna be coming off hot, off of some heat, off of what we're expecting to be a great match, and invested in a pretty good storyline that's been going for a while now. So if you're out there, NY, make sure you catch that match. The same day, last but not least, Saturday, February 9th, Portland, Oregon, which you'll never catch me dead or alive in Portland, Oregon. But if you're in Portland, Oregon, go catch Defy Wrestling Slamtown. We've seen the Bucks hit up Defy Wrestling within the past month or so. Defy Slamtown is going to be going down in Portland, Oregon. None other than MJF, Maxwell Jacob Freeman, is taking on the champ, the Defy World Champion, Artemis Spencer, who will be defending his belt there. So if you're out there in Portland, we probably can't be friends, but you should make it out to this match regardless. And that was it. That was all of the matches that I could find, or all the appearances that I could find for all the cats coming up this week for February 6th to the 13th. Like I said in the past, I'm just one man. I'm out there scouring the Instagram, scouring the Facebooks, trying to find these cats matches. So if I miss something, I've done it in the past. I missed the final stand in the past. So if I miss something, or you just feel like helping a brother out, send me the flyers for these cats appearances. Send me whatever you see them build on in the near future. I'll talk about it here on All Elite Weekly. We're bringing it home for a landing. We're almost there. This is it. This is our last segment. All Elite way back. I got a good one for you, or I got an interesting one for you at least. Again, Jericho, All Elite way back edition. I'm still in 1996. What I brought for you this week is WCW Monday Night Nitro, September 16th, 1996, 9/16/96. You can catch it on the network. You can probably find it on YouTube. It was the Nitro following Fall Brawl, 96 Fall Brawl, following War Games. Jericho's only a few months into WCW. He's come from ECW. He's starting to get his footing a little bit, but he's still in infancy there in WCW. Speaking of being in their infancy, NWO's in their infancy. They're hot off of a win the night before, taking on the Four Horsemen, or half of the Four Horsemen, Team WCW in War Games. It's the debut of X-Pac, Sean Walton in the WCW, filling in his role as Six, teasing his involvement as a member of the NWO. For whatever reason, the match that we're talking about is Jericho teamed up with Marcus Bagwell, who would go on to be Buff Bagwell, to take on Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. Baby Jericho in there mixing it up with the Nature Boy. One of the best ever to do it. It's really, really cool to see. But it's also interesting to see this is an insight into how chaotic WCW was. I picked this mainly because it's Jericho in the ring with baby Jericho in the ring with Ric Flair. But also it's just chaotic, man. It's so fucking chaotic. They're in the midst of WCW NWO wars. And before this match starts, they let loose thousands and thousands of NWO flyers from the rafters, from the ceilings, and it's just littering the arena, littering the ring. It's just all out chaos. I think they were giving them as props to audience members to like crumble up and toss at the NWO when they come down. But you give 1,000 wrestling fans, like 1,000 drunk wrestling fans, like something to throw at wrestlers. They're gonna throw it at wrestlers. Like they're not gonna wait for a cue. So you got just baby Chris Jericho in there with one of the best tag teams ever, Arn Anderson and Ric Flair. Really just trying to find his footing, man. Trying to figure out where he fits in this system. But pulling through, I think making a decent outing and showing why he's going to be around for years to come. So that's it, man. That's my that's my AEW way back for this week. WCW Nitro, September 16th, 1996. This is the morning after post poppin' as well. I forgot to mention one of the reasons why I picked this episode as well was this is the Monday night Nitro debut of WCW superstar Glacier. If you caught the Come Hell or High Water pay-per-view like myself that I talked about earlier on the Fight TV this past weekend, during that Southern Wrestling opening challenge, they had an appearance from former WCW superstar Glacier. This is 20, almost 3 years ago. Glacier making his debut on Nitro, and holy fuck did they put the jetpack under this dude as far as like his opening. What an opening. They even keep the lights blue for this guy's match. So I thought that was kind of cool. Time mark as well. Not only was it a great Jericho match, but if you caught that pay-per-view that we talked about, it's also a nice little reminder to where it's bookends. It's like Glacier's debut, boom, Glacier just popped up and Come Hell or High Water. We done it, guys. We have done it. That's 5 in the can right there. That's gonna do it for me this week. If you got something, if you've got matches to suggest, if you've got upcoming events to point out to me, if you've got ins on someone at, some type of Ponzi scheme, some pyramid scheme, don't send that to me. But if you got something regarding All Elite Wrestling, hit me up on my Instagram, All Elite Weekly. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify. We've gone over the matches for this week. We've talked about a little bit of news, not much. We've talked about being the elite. We've gone over Road to Double or Nothing, and I've given you your opportunities to see AEW Cats for the week of February 6th to the 13th, and I gave you an All Elite way back, Baby Jericho, Nitro 96. That's going to do it for me, guys. I'm your host, Matt Cruz. Go be elite.